the Bobby Green fight was crazy fun to watch. This dude Bobby Green is he's electric. He is a he's gonna have a big fan base soon if he's already not like close to that. I realize he hasn't had like any top 15, like any big fights, and he's not like fighting at the top of pay per views. He's not a like a top five guy or anything at the moment, but he's a ton of fun to watch. The energy, the showman's like the way that he performs in there. He's talking trash, and he's just fun, man. He's fun to watch, and he's super quick. He's got a really fun style to watch. And like the fight that he had against Rafael Fiziev, super close fight, and that was a ton of fun. Both unique striking styles, and Bobby Green's just he's a lot of fun to watch. I'm really interested to see kind of who he's fighting next and whatnot, because that was a really fun fight for me. And then Andrei Arlovsky, he got another win too. He's like an ageless wonder. It's crazy. He's in his 40s. I believe he had the belt in '05 or '06 in the UFC, the heavyweight belt. So it has been like like more than 15 years for sure, and he's still getting like nice wins. It's not like they just throw him against other 40-year-olds. He's getting like young guys that are, trying to climb their way through the ranks, and he's winning. He's winning most of them. He's on a nice win streak. Um, he's probably gonna go against someone big next, or I mean someone bigger. Um, but we'll see how that goes. Arlovsky's always fun to watch. He's just a crazy veteran of the game. I'm curious how much longer he wants to fight, because he's still fighting at a pretty high level, and sometimes these heavyweights are able to do that. The thing that's crazy about Arlovsky is he has been doing it for so long. A lot of other times, like these, heavyweights kind of coming older in their career. They might not have been like performing for 20 plus years or fighting for 20 plus years. So it's just crazy to see that he's still performing the way that he does. And then a couple other ones like the Roxanne Modafferi's last fight against Casey O'Neill. Casey O'Neill won the fight, but Roxanne, this was her retirement fight, and she really went out there and she did a good job. Like she fought for the full 15 minutes, going for the win. You could tell it was her last fight. She gave it her all, and it was a close fight. In my opinion, I think it was for sure O'Neal won, but one of the judges called it for Roxanne, so it was considered a split decision. But you usually you want to go out on a win, but for Roxanne, she goes out, she fights one of the top young contenders in the division, and she gives it everything she got, and she didn't get knocked out or anything like that. It wasn't like a sad moment or anything. It was like, you can tell she can still fight. She's been fighting the best in her division for years. And she's a pioneer for the women's MMA. So, obviously it was cool to watch that. She was on like the lower. She was on the prelims, but it was still fun. That was a fight I tuned in to watch. And then let's see here. Kyler Phillips had a really nice fight too. Um, he had the tough loss to Paiva. I think it was sometime like early last year, I want to say, and so he came back and he looked really good. He got the finish in the third round, I believe, and yeah, he looked really good tonight. So I'm curious to see kind of where he goes from this. And then the other one I want to talk about is this teammate of Izzy's named Blood Diamond. I don't even know his real name. He literally goes by Blood Diamond, kind of like the Korean Zombie. Like when the UFC announces his name, they say the Blood Diamond. Um, and this is a guy like before he fights. He only had 3 MMA fights in his career, but they're like he's literally fought over 100 kickboxing matches. I want to say they even like asked him in an interview like, do you know how many kickboxing matches you've had? And he's like, no, I lost count. So they really hyped this dude up. This dude's been training with Izzy for all these years and whatnot, and then he goes in and the dude decides to run. He fought Jeremiah Wells, and Wells literally like runs around the ring randomly, and like almost hurts his ankle and like stumbles, and then Blood Diamond kind of runs in, tries to hit him, misses, and then they're in the clinch, and then Wells takes him down and finishes the fight. And Blood Diamond wasn't able to get back up. I definitely want to see like what you know. Obviously, if he's this good of a kickboxer, he's probably gonna have some crazy MMA wins eventually. It's just 3 fights, and then you're fighting like top dudes in the UFC. Like they don't really like let you build up and fight guys that aren't like elite. You like if you're a really good kickboxer that's never grappled much, you're gonna face someone that has more experience grappling like pretty early in your UFC career. So I'm still curious to see like what this guy looks like when he gets to stand up more in a fight. Because obviously that style that they say he has and everything is really fun to watch. But with only 3 MMA fights, we'll see kind of like if they book him again in the UFC or if they're gonna try to like have him go somewhere else. I know the standard with the UFC is usually 3 fight deals, and this is a guy that like trains with Izzy and stuff, so maybe he'll get a few more fights before they like let him go or anything. But I'd like to see him fight someone that's more of a someone that's more of like a stand-up fighter. Even though Jeremiah Wells has lots of knockouts on his record, I think that he knew like the easiest way for me to win is this. I don't want to mess around too much if this guy's this good on the feet. And then kind of just want to give my input on like who I think these guys should fight next. Obviously we've talked. Izzy's gonna fight Cannonier. I think a fun fight for Rob would be Marvin Vettori. That would give if Marvin wins that, he's got to win over Paulo. He's got to win over Rob. He's right back in the title content. Like he could probably get a title shot after that. If Rob wins that, depending on how long they make him wait again, like he could be right in the picture again. Especially if like because Vittori's already up there. If Izzy beats Cannonier, Rob beats Marvin, it's like who else do you book over those guys? I know you got like Strickland kind of waiting back there. In my opinion, I think Strickland should get like another top fight. Like if he beat Paulo Costa or something like that, then yeah, I could totally agree that he should get a title fight. I don't think he should get a title fight over Jack, like just because he beat Jack Hermanson. Like I don't think that's enough for a title shot. But outside of that, I think Brunson's talked about like he only wanted 2 more fights, so basically this next fight will be like his retirement fight. I honestly I'm not 100% sure who the best guy for him to fight is. I want them to give him like a good matchup, not someone who's just gonna finish him. And I don't know. I mean Brunson's also really good. Like he was just on this big fight win streak. He just beat Darren Till last year. So we'll see. We'll see what they do with Brunson. As far as like Derek Lewis, I think a fun matchup would be Jairzinho. I'm sorry if I messed that up. Rosenstrike. I think that would be a fun matchup. I could see both of those dudes. That kind of another good chance of a knockout between both of the guys. And then for Tuivasa, I think a fun fight, depending on how these guys do in their next fights, because I think they're both booked. Either Chris Daukaus or Tom Aspinall. If either one of those guys get wins, they'll both be kind of in that similar like, either fringe top 5 or they'll be top 5. And then Tai Tuivasa versus one of those guys, that could kind of create an opportunity to fight for a belt. Could be like a number 1 contender type thing. The other thing too is like this heavyweight division. Who knows how this is gonna go? We right now we still have the whole Francis Ngannou contract situation. So how's that gonna go? He is injured, so he's not gonna be able to fight for a while, even if they do work out the contract. So do they do an interim belt in the time being? or is Francis, do they not work things out with Francis, and do they just have another fight for heavyweight? The rumor right now is like the John Jones Stipe could be for the interim belt. I think that makes a lot of sense. Stipe for sure doesn't get the love like that he should get for being considered the greatest heavyweight of all time whenever they do show him love. This is a guy who, he's paid his dues. He beat Francis Ngannou, and they didn't even think about having him get the rematch immediately when he's the reigning champ. So I do think Stipe should get another shot in there, and then obviously Jones, like depending, but obviously like depending on like the situation with Francis, maybe one of those guys fights Francis instead. But I do think those kind of are the three probably at the top, and then obviously Cyril gone. Like he lost a close decision to Francis, so Cyril is up there too. And who does he fight next? He could be talking about fighting one of these guys too. So I think there's some kind of young life in the heavyweight division, so it's gonna be fun to watch. Ideally, I still think like those guys are like Francis and Cyril are probably the two best. Um, we'll see kind of how good John Jones is. Like if John Jones is as good as he was at light heavyweight, he could be one of the best at heavyweight too. So we'll see that, and then obviously Stipe's, he's an all-time great, so he's still up there too. But outside of that, there's a lot of young up and comers in the heavyweight division. When typically it's been one of the weaker divisions outside of the top. So we'll see how things go forward with that. But thanks for tuning in. As always, like and subscribe if you like the content. Let me know what your take is on some of the things we discussed. And thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.